Great. Well, thank you for joining us tonight to learn how you can make a difference when you switch to driving an electric vehicle. My name is Annika Osborne, and I'm with Cool the Earth, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. With our Drive Clean Bay Area collaboration, we focus on educating and engaging people in the Bay Area around zero emissions vehicles like EVs. I'd like to thank MCE for their collaboration and sponsorship for tonight's program, and Carol Weed and the Sustainable Rossmoor team for the opportunity to present about EVs tonight, and also for their support in coordinating this event. So here's our agenda for today. So we'll start with an introduction by MCE. We'll talk a little bit about benefits of EVs. We'll review some of the current and coming EVs. We'll explore charging options at Rossmoor. And I'll talk a little bit more about what's up with our organization or our program, Drive Clean Bay Area. And then MCE will come back and talk some more about income qualifying incentives from MCE and other organizations. And at the end, we'll do a Q&A. So we'll be sending you a PDF of this presentation in our follow-up email, and the recording will be posted on the Sustainable Rossmoor YouTube channel and on channel 28. So as we go through this presentation, sometimes questions might come up and I might not see them, so please feel free to put them in the chat. We have many very experienced EV experts in this meeting tonight, who can answer some of these questions. And if some things have not been answered, we'll take a look at them at the Q&A at the end. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mariella Herrick, who is the Community Development Manager at MCE.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mariella. I'm really excited to tell you a little bit more about MCE. MCE is a public not-for-profit, your public not-for-profit electricity provider. So if I could get the next slide, please, Annika.
Sure.
So I want to start off by reinforcing the idea that climate change is something that impacts all of us and is one of the biggest threats that we're facing today. From an increase in the extreme weather events to dramatic health impacts, climate change is about more than just the weather being unpredictable. And we need to take every effort we can to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change. Electricity represents 27% of nationwide emissions, but luckily here in California, it only accounts for 15% of statewide emissions. And this is due in large part to community choice aggregation agencies like MCE, who are offering renewable energy services. So I really want to take a moment here to thank you all for being MCE customers and helping dramatically reduce the carbon footprint of our electrical grid. And so our mission is for MCE is to address climate change by reducing energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. We also offer economic and workforce benefits for our communities while keeping equity at the forefront of our work. And so we represent 37 communities in 4 Bay Area counties: Marin, Napa, Solano, and Contra Costa. It's a total of 540 accounts representing about 1 million customers. And so MCE is a CCA, like I mentioned before, and the CCA takes over generation portion of your electricity service. And this offers customers a choice on where they get their electricity. As a reminder, CCAs were established by Assembly Bill 117, passed back in 2002. The legislation was motivated by the energy crisis in the early 2000s, when local jurisdictions wanted to have more transparency and control over energy resources purchased on behalf of communities. So I want to talk a little bit really quickly about how the electricity actually works. So I like to break it down into 2 parts: generation and delivery.
What's your market share? How many people are MCE out of the total customer base in your area?
We have about 1 million customers.
What does MCE stand for?
What's that percentage? 1 million out of how many?
It changes a little bit for community to community, but we have about an 89.9% enrollment rate.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. That's impressive.
What does MCE stand for?
Marin Clean Energy.
Marin Clean Energy.
Yep. And so if I just want to break down that generation is how the power is created and delivered, and then there's the delivery side of things, and that's how the energy gets to your home. So with the CCA model, MCE becomes the source of generation for you all, supplying energy from clean and renewable power sources. And then that electricity gets put onto the grid and delivered to you all by local transmissions and distribution lines In our area, PG&E is the owner of those, so they take over the delivery side of that. All in all, you still get reliable service delivered to your home or business. And finally, at MCE, we believe that choice is power. Your first engagement opportunity with MCE starts when you are automatically enrolled into our light green service, which is 60% renewable energy. For those of you who want to take it to the next level, you can opt up into our deep green option, which is 100% renewable option, which is comprised of California solar and wind. And for the average residential account, it's about $5 more on your utility bill. We also have various customer programs. Owen later today is going to talk about our electric vehicle rebate program. So I'm going to pass it back to Annika, who will talk about EVs now.
So there are many benefits to driving electric. In California, our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of GHG emissions, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. So when you switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, like you can do with MCE at Rossmoor, you are taking impactful climate action by reducing both carbon emissions and air pollution, both which disproportionately impact communities of concern. And there's no sacrifice when you go electric. You can save time, money, the planet, and improve your driving experience with an EV. So in addition to reducing emissions, there are several advantages. Many EVs have a lower total cost of ownership compared to gas cars. And some of the reasons for the low cost of driving electric are that government incentives are available for up to $10,250 for most EVs and more if your income qualifies. Gas can be 2 or 3 times as expensive as electricity, especially in the last year when gas prices have been really high. It really makes a lot of sense to drive electric. Maintenance for EVs costs 40% less than for gas cars or hybrids. And twice a year, Drive Clean Bay Area partners with Cartelligent, a car concierge service for EV discounts. We'll have 2 this year. We're planning 2, one in May and one in October. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's take a look at the standard incentives available for new EVs. A little later in the presentation, Owen from MCE will review the income qualifying incentives. So there's the California Clean Fuel Rewards for $750, which is taken off of the MSRP at the point of sale, which is very convenient. You don't even have to apply for that one. Then there's the California Standard Rebate, or the CVRP, which is available for $2,000 for fully electric EVs and $1,000 for plug-in hybrids that have more than 30 miles of electric range. There are some income and vehicle limits for this rebate, which are actually going to be reduced or become more stringent even starting later this month. So the federal tax credit is claimed on tax liability when you file your taxes, so it does not come in the form of an upfront rebate. The vehicle tax credit is currently not available for Bolts or Teslas, and the credit is for purchase only. However, some dealers will take it off of the lease price, which is really nice. Like I know Volkswagen right now with the ID4, they'll take that federal tax credit themselves and pass it along to the consumer who is leasing the car. So they take that $7,500 off of the MSRP when they're calculating your lease price. So that's really great. We are hoping for an updated federal EV rebate program with the Build Back Better bill, or with a separate climate bill, fingers crossed. Then there's the Clean Air Vehicle Decal, which gives EV drivers access to the HOV lane as single passengers. It's available for 3 full years. And here's a great savings calculator that I recommend that you use, so you can plug in your, your zip code and your household income and find out exactly which incentives you qualify for. So in addition to saving money with an EV, you can also save time. Talked a little bit about that, the HOV sticker. So you can, drive in that HOV lane and you'll never have to wait in line at a gas station again. It's so nice to drive right past gas stations when you drive electric. For many people, it's convenient to charge at home. I would think at Rossmoor, you have lots of different charging options, so that's great. And EVs offer low maintenance and efficiency. Maintenance for an EV is basically replacing windshield washer fluid, and rotating your tires and replacing your tires. And with an EV, sometimes you'll even get VIP parking. A lot of shopping centers feature those charging stations right up front. And it's a little more fun to drive electric too. So what I really like is the extra torque and power that you get when you drive an EV. I can quickly accelerate when I'm getting on the freeway and then easily maneuver between lanes. The quiet and smooth drive makes for great conversations when you're with other people in the car. And for me, the high safety ratings were a really big factor. When you take your foot off the accelerator of an EV, your car automatically slows down, which increases safety as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the current and coming cars. So with so many EVs and plug-in hybrids available, there's an EV for every lifestyle and budget. Most fully electric EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range, and some will go even farther on one charge. So this means that you can easily go from Walnut Creek to Sacramento and back without having to stop to charge at all. This was not the case 5 years ago. So EV range and charge speeds are really improving all the time, which is really great. I also wanted to address that we're no longer talking about replacing EV batteries in cars like we were with some of those early Nissan Leafs. These EVs that are coming out now are expected to last a long time. Some are predicting 300,000 to 500,000 miles. So of course the battery will degrade a bit over time, just like batteries do on your computers or your cell phones, but that is not catastrophic. You'll still be able to drive them for many, many years. Okay, so here come the cars. On these slides, the price is listed. I'll be showing you several slides of different cars. So on these slides, the listed price is the MSRP, the base MSRP. And as I mentioned earlier, there are many incentives available for all of these cars. So here are a couple of the lower range EVs that are available just around 30,000. Not everybody needs a high range EV. These work out great for around the town driving and running errands. The Nissan Leaf Plus model offers a higher range with just a little more cost. So here are a few of the popular models that you've probably seen around. The Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are great crossovers. The Tesla Model 3 has an all-wheel drive option and very fast charging. So incidentally, in 2022, the average price of new cars in the United States is $47,000. So these models are right in there, and that's before incentives. So the next two cars that I'm going to show are great cars. They just came out in 2021, so I'm featuring them with their own slide. The ID4, the Volkswagen ID4 is the first from the Volkswagen ID brand, and there will be many more coming. But I think you'll have to wait to get the ID Buzz, which replaces the Volkswagen Bus, for about a year or two. I know a lot of people are excited for that one. So when you lease or buy this car, you'll receive free fast charging for 3 years with the Electrify America charging network. So imagine that, no fuel costs for 3 years. In addition, Volkswagen passes the federal tax credit along to leasing customers, which brings the cost down by $7,500, in addition to the other rebates. So the Ford Mustang Mach-E has been in high demand since it was released last year. People love this car. I've seen a couple around town and they're really fun. Here are a few that are coming out this year, just around the $45,000 range. The Hyundai Ioniq and the Kia Niro are the first models for these manufacturers that are built exclusively as EVs. And they can charge 60 miles in 5 minutes and go from 10% to 80% on a fast charger in 18 minutes. So that's incredible. We're not quite at the gas station model yet, but we're getting there. The Nissan Ariya is Nissan's second all-electric EV. It looks very different from the Nissan Leaf. And the Ioniq 5 is already at dealerships and available for test drives. These are all really cutting-edge, exciting EVs. So if you can't find an all-electric EV that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids out there. So if you plug in a PHEV, as we call them, every night, you may cover your daily driving on electricity alone, and you can save the gas tank for longer trips. This is just a sampling of some of the PHEVs that are out there on the market, but there are many, many more. I have a couple friends who love their Honda Clarity. One of them has never had to go to the gas station. She only drives on electricity. So she uses it for around town and it works out great for her. So EVs have been around for just about 10 years. And because EV technology is so new, many people lease their EVs. So there are many available now on the market as used cars. So these are just a few of the many affordable used EVs available. There are higher range EVs like Chevy Bolts and Teslas also available on the market. And some more that are coming later on this year. Subaru and Toyota are a bit late to the EV market, but we're excited to see these cars coming out this summer. They've both offered plug-in hybrids in the past, and it's great to see them evolve with fully electric models. So in the next section, I'm going to talk about how to EV, which is mostly about charging. So we'll move on with a little introduction about charging. So people get worried about charging, but for most people, 90% of charging is done at home. So level 1 charging, this is an easy, no-cost solution, and it is ample for most people if you have access to a standard 120-volt outlet. It gives you from 25 to 40 miles of charge in 8 hours, which is usually overnight when electricity is inexpensive, which is just enough to replenish your battery from your day's driving. The average person in the Bay Area drives 23 miles a day. So level 2 charging. People who drive over 50 miles a day often have a level 2 charger at home. The Rossmoor community chargers are level 2 chargers as well. So you get about 22 to 26 miles per hour that you're charging. There are also many public level 2 chargers available, so you can charge when you're around town, running errands. For example, when I go to farmer's market, I usually charge my EV for an hour and pick up 25 miles of range. And then there's level 3 charging. So when you're on a road trip, you'll want to fast charge with a level 3 charger, which is the fastest charging available. It is important to note that different EVs charge at different speeds, but on average, fast charging gets you about 70% battery charge, like from 10% to 80% in about 30 minutes. So level 3 charging is often a 20 to 30 minute stop on a road trip. Just enough to grab a cup of coffee and get on your way. I'm going to talk a little bit about EV charging at Rossmoor. So as I mentioned, there are several EV charging solutions for Rossmoor residents. If you're allowed and they're available, you can plug into a standard outlet for level 1 charging. It's an easy, no-cost solution, and it's ample for most drivers. So here you can see Alice King charging her Nissan Leaf at one of the 30 Rossmoor community charging ports. So for nearby public charging, for level 3 charging, that's that really, really fast charging. There is an Electrify America ultra fast charging station and a Tesla supercharging station at Broadway Plaza. So on average, again, you can get 70% of your battery charge in just 30 minutes, just enough time to run your errands. So besides those level 3 chargers, there are several places around Rossmoor with level 2 charging. I believe there's a Safeway across the street where they have level 2 charging, but you can get this right here, right there at Rossmoor as well. So you have these 30 community chargers at Gateway, Event Center, and Fitness Center. They are powered by MCE Light Green Energy, which is wonderful. So you're getting 60% renewable energy when you charge your EVs at Rossmoor. And that's compared with PG&E, which offers like 29% renewables in their electricity mix. The charging speed is about 20 to 25 miles an hour, depending on your car. And the cost is between $1.50 to $2 per gallon equivalent, depending on when you're charging. There are some time of use, you're on a time of use plan, but that's a really great cost savings that you can get when you drive electric and charge at Rossmoor. And Rossmoor does have a goal to install many outlets for level 1 charging in the different mutuals. So charging away from home is getting easier all the time. There are thousands of public charging sites that provide level 2 and 3 charging and using apps like PlugShare help you find them. This is just really focused in here on, the Rossmoor surroundings, but you can drive all the way to New York in an EV and back. Many people have done that. And most of these new EVs offer their own built-in navigation systems, which makes finding your destination and chargers along the way very easy. Electrify America, EVgo, and ChargePoint all offer app or card-based stations. So you can just tap your app or your card, charge, and then go. With public charging, we recommend that you practice a few times locally before you head off on a road trip. And you'll want to remember, if you're going to a destination where you might be able to charge, if you're staying in an Airbnb or a Vrbo or with family, you can just bring your charging cable that comes with your car with you, maybe an extension cord, and you can plug in while you're there. So some people are worried about having an EV because of power shutdowns, but EVs can actually help during a power shutdown. So you can plug in an expensive 300-watt inverter, which is about $30, into the accessory port of your EV and power up small appliances like cell phones, laptops, and LED lights. With this inverter, you cannot power up your refrigerator, unfortunately, but the technology around inverters is advancing quickly, and there are several companies working on vehicle-to-home energy management systems, and utilities are working on vehicle-to-grid systems. So we'll be seeing great improvements here in the next few years. So just imagine when you come home at the end of your day, when electricity is expensive and not so clean, you can power up your home with the energy stored in your EV battery, and then power up your EV battery during off-peak times when there's ample clean, inexpensive electricity available from the grid. This is very exciting stuff, very cutting edge, and we'll be seeing this in the next few years. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about our organization and what we offer. So twice a year, we offer an EV discount campaign with our partner Cartelligent to give Bay Area consumers a no-hassle experience and significant discounts on a range of EVs. In October of 2021, we helped over 100 people switch to EVs with an average savings of $2,000, in addition to all of the other incentives. We're planning to offer these campaigns again this May and October. It's been a little challenging for those of you who are following the news here, but there's very low inventory on all cars right now. So the dealers, unfortunately, have been kind of cranking the prices on all cars. But we're hoping to see more inventory, so we'll have a more competitive market in the next few months. To get started with EV discounts, you'll sign up on our EV discount campaign page. I will drop that in the chat in a bit, and I'll also follow up with that in my email. In addition to the EV discount campaign, we also offer weekly Zoom webinars open to the public. We do EV 101s, which are a little bit more expansive than this one tonight, and also EV 102s to help people who are new EV drivers transition smoothly to driving electric. We also offer EV car shows, Bay Area wide, and we have lots of partners also who offer these car shows, and we put these up on our events page. The winter time isn't really the time for EV car shows, but they'll be coming back in April. And we also send out a newsletter with news about EVs, like incentives and EV discount campaigns and such. And now I'd like to pass it on to Owen from MCE to talk a little bit about some of those income qualifying incentives.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Thanks, Annika. Yeah, so like Annika said, my name's Owen. I'm in my first year in a fellowship with MCE's transportation electrification programs. So I work with our EV rebate program and our EV charging program. If you've ever had any interaction with me, it'd probably be through one of those two. And Annika touched on it a little bit, but there are further savings and incentives for people who are income qualified. So as you can see on this chart here, if you fall underneath that amount for 2020 or for 2021, you would qualify for up to $13,750 in rebates and incentives for a new electric vehicle. I just want to clarify that the household income there is based on the number of people you're filing taxes with, not the number of people you live with. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Sure. Sorry.
So these are some different programs that are available to people who are income qualified. As you'll see there, the top one, Drive Clean Assistance Program, that's a grant program that you apply to prior to purchasing your electric vehicle. There can be some confusion with all these different incentives out there about which ones are stackable. As you can see here, all of these incentives are stackable together, but I really want to make it clear that the only one you apply to prior to purchasing would be the grant program, Drive Clean Assistance Program. Then you have the California Clean Fuel Reward, which Annika already touched on. That's something that happens at the point of sale. And after you actually get your vehicle, you can apply to MCE's rebate, which is $3,500, and we'll automatically send in your application for CVRP. So you're looking at a total of 2 applications through the whole process. The first one being the grant program, Drive Clean Assistance, and the second being through MCE's rebate. And then we automatically send in your application for CVRP. So that brings you up to nearly $14,000 in savings off your EV. And this figure, $14,000, doesn't even include the federal tax credit of up to $7,500. This $14,000 is strictly in grants and rebates, which you'll get in the form of cash. And then the tax credit only applies if you owe money to the federal government. Yeah, so if you are interested in applying to the EV rebate program, my contact information is going to be sent out afterwards if you have any questions. So that's all. Thanks.
So I'm sure you all remember about 2 years ago when we enjoyed blue skies and clean air, when people stopped driving. If you can make the switch to driving electric now, we are here to help you. The sooner the better. But if you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? Our biggest ask really is please don't buy a new gas car. It will be on this earth emitting carbon and air pollution for 12 to 15 years. And we want to stop that as quickly as we can.
Annika, while they're doing that, do you want to take a few questions?
Absolutely. Yeah, I haven't really had a chance.
Well, this is Sustainable Rossmoor, you have to realize. So people want to know what are the horrible things we hear about batteries and their precious metals an issue, and are they now recycling them and so forth?
Yeah, so it's batteries, great question. I'm glad you're all thinking about batteries. So the good news about batteries, as I mentioned before, is that batteries will last for a very long time. There's a lot of really great research being done right now also to advance batteries. There's solid state batteries that we'll be seeing mid-decade, and more advanced, many different organizations that are working on a more sustainable type of battery, all with the goal of a cleaner battery and a more efficient battery. So, we do have to take note that the fossil fuel industry is not a very clean industry. Just transporting all the fossil fuels across country is very carbon intensive, and combusting gas, the cars, driving the cars is very, lots of carbon emissions. There are some issues with the batteries, so I'm glad you brought that up, mostly around the energy that it takes to build the batteries and to create the batteries, and some of the rare minerals that are found in the batteries. And again, the research is being done. Several manufacturers have removed, for instance, cobalt, which is one of the rare minerals that was very controversial. And lots of advancements are happening. But something that's interesting, and we touched upon this a little bit already, is the second life of batteries. So utilities, so basically we have so much solar energy in California. We have a lot of solar energy, in fact, so much that we have to turn off the solar energy midday because we have so much. So we're not even using it. So a lot of utilities are very interested in storing the solar energy, because if we don't use it when the sun is shining, we lose it. So there's also a lot of research being done for EV batteries to store electricity for utilities, so that during those peak times in the evenings when there's a lot of demand for electricity, the grid can offer, has more electricity available. And then at this point, like I used to say 95% that was of the materials and the batteries can be recycled. But there was a recent study that just came out last month that said 100% of the materials can be recycled. Even the rare minerals. I actually have a friend who works in this industry. They pull out, cobalt and the other rare minerals out of all of the lithium ion batteries, like, from your cell phones and your laptops and all, they all have the same battery issues. So now they can purify those rare minerals and reuse. So that's really great news on the battery front.
There are two more questions that I could ask. Is now a good time?
Yes.
Okay, one had to do with, can all EVs, even some of the older ones, accommodate a level 3 charger?
Most EVs can. I'll give you my example. I was actually really surprised. We have a used 2016 Volkswagen e-Golf that we drive as our second car. And I can charge on the level 3. It has a range of only 80 miles, which is fine for a second car. It's the one my kids take when they go to school, and we go around town with this car. We can go to the beach and back in this car. But it takes a level 3 charge. And I was surprised, 2016, so all of these cars that are coming out now, I do know that like with the Chevy Bolt, it was an add-on to get level 3 charging initially, but I think with the 22 models, when they get back onto the market, they will be available with a standard level 3 charging. Yeah. Definitely worthwhile asking. I mean, all of the new vehicles, for sure, but some of those older vehicles, if you're going used, you might want to check on those.
And the last question that I saw on the chat was, in order to get the CVRP, I guess the word is rebate,
Yeah.
you have to be able to submit a copy of your registration. So it happens after, or it's,
Yes.
and you have to wait for Sacramento to send you your registration, you get the number. The certificate.
If you're leasing, I believe if you're leasing, they give you your registration number, as far as I know. But yes, you do have to wait for that. You have to wait till you take delivery of your vehicle. Owen, do you have any more comments on that one, or?
No, just the registration's required. If you have a temporary registration, that works too.
Question. Hi, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so do those rebates that you mentioned apply to the one who is waiting? I already paid $250 to place an order to Tesla, and then waiting for my car to come sometime in March. Do those rebates apply to me?
So Tesla is a little bit, so I'm not going to, I'll speak to the standard rebates. So
Yeah.
you'll get the $750 off immediately.
Yeah.
They'll calculate that. They've probably already done that in their quote to you.
Yeah.
And then if this is a Tesla model that is, so the CVRP is changing actually on February 24th, as I mentioned. But so as of February 24th, as long as the car is less than $45,000.
Yeah, it's less than $45,000.
Okay, great. So then you should qualify.
Oh, so all of the, so altogether like 17,000 something apply?
Well, so it's the 750.
Yeah.
Or, and then the 2,000 for the state rebate.
Yeah.
And then with Teslas, the federal tax credit is not currently available for Teslas or Chevy Bolts, because the way they set up that rebate, it was only for the first 200,000 models that were sold.
Yeah.
However, we really don't know what's going to happen here with they're working on updating this tax credit to become more of a rebate in that Build Back Better bill.
Yeah.
I know a lot of congressmen now are talking about pulling the climate pieces out of the Build Back Better bill to focus, because they know that there's bipartisan support for the climate pieces. So if that passes, that should be, that may, I can't, no guarantees here, but
Yeah,
if you buy a car in 2022
Yeah.
and they update the federal tax program,
yeah,
you may be able to qualify for $7,500 or maybe even more.
I see.
And the way that I've been reading about it, it looks like that will be in the form of a rebate, not as a tax credit against your liability, which
Yeah.
will be much more equitable and better for everyone, really.
I see. So at least the 750 and 2,000
Yes.
are guaranteed.
Well, yes.
Oh, I see. I see.
As long as your income limits, you'll want to look at the CVRP
Yeah.
website to make sure your income limits are in the right range.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
I've forgotten what's the 750 for. That's just the rebate.
Yeah, it's actually a program that's funded by utilities throughout California. It's a clean fuel reward rebate.
Clean fuel. Okay. Fuel rebate. And then state tax is 2,000.
Yeah, that's a rebate that you have to apply for after you take delivery of your car.
Or after I purchase the car, I apply.
After you receive the car, then you can apply. You need your registration for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to where? Where do I register?
So we'll be sending the PDF of this presentation.
Yeah.
And I failed to mention this, but I have an appendix at the end of the presentation that has a slide featuring each of the rebates, and the websites for each of those rebates and incentives are there.
I
So
see.
you can, get
So,
more.
so you send me one because I attend tonight's.
Well, on the yes, you'll receive this presentation,
Yeah.
and you're also welcome to email me. Reply to the email that you receive. It will be coming from info@cooltheearth, and feel free to reply, and I can talk to you offline about this. Happy to.
Okay, so you give me later. Would you please give me an email address?
Sure. I'll drop it in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I have a question, please.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm the person that asked the question about getting on the CVRP wait list prior to getting the car delivered. And did I hear correctly that the 2,000 CVRP does not apply to my car, which costs $50,000?
So as of February 24th, yeah, they just are updating their policies. If it's a larger car, it may apply. I think if it's qualifies as an SUV, I'm going to go out and find the link to this, and I'll drop it in the.
Okay.
It's something worth reading, really, for the details.
Okay.
I just shared the link to CVRP
Awesome.
in the chat. There
Thank
you
you,
can find, they have a list of eligible vehicles that they just updated. So John, if you look on there, you'll be able to see if your vehicle is eligible or not. And if it's listed there, it'll have the rebate amount next to it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And if you meet the income qualify, then you'll get the additional rebate on top of the amount that's listed there.
I see. Because the reason I purchased the long range version of the Tesla 3, and that brought it up, to above 45,000 for sure. So that would
When
be.
are you taking delivery of the car? Do you know?
Well, it's between the 3rd of this month and the 17th, so it's a pretty narrow window now.
Well, as long as you get that before the 24th, but then I think, I would just turn that application around as quickly as you can.
Yeah, just get it in. So is it worthwhile going through, let's see, was it the EV match program that automatically applies for the CVRP as well?
So Owen was talking about if your income qualifies, it's the MCE rebate.
Yeah.
So if you apply for that MCE rebate, they will handle the application for you.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure I don't qualify for the income based. So I should just go directly to CVRP.
The CVRP website. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much. Appreciate your help. Nice presentation. Really, really nice. Thank you.
Great.
So can I
Free.
chime in? Because I was on the phone today with the 2000, I don't know the program, it's the state program, California, that gives you $2,000.
Mhm.
You can say the name of it. It's the one that he was talking about.
Yeah, the CVRP.
Okay, the CVRP. I was on the phone with them. So the current income for the CVRP is for joint filing is $300,000. If
Yes.
you're under 300,000 with joint filing, you qualify. Your application has to be submitted by the 24th. If you submit it it's either the 24th, or you submit it on the 22nd or 23rd, you have 14 days to get your supporting documents in. They said, they told me that as long as I clicked and submitted it online before the 24th, that would be fine. I would then have 14 days to get your documents in. If you don't get your documents in, then you go back to the line. But in any event, if you submit it on the 25th, you're going to have to play by the new rules. And the new rules are much stricter and more restrictive. So if you take delivery of your car before the 24th, get online that day and put your application in, because that holds your place. They said it's taking them at least 30 days to get to the applications, but if they see it was submitted before the 24th, you're in the line and you're okay.
Well, all I can say is I'm keeping my fingers crossed right here.
Well, so the joint income qualifications will be changed to $200,000. So you have to earn less than $200,000 a year starting on February 25th.
Okay.
If you're filing jointly.
Okay, but still, it doesn't apply to cars that exceed the price of 45,000. So.
Oh no! It does.
If you get it in beforehand.
Oh yeah, beforehand.
8,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Sorry, it's so complicated. They make these changes yearly, and we never know when it's going to happen, and nobody can really prepare. It's hard to prepare to really make the most out of all those incentives, but we can really just hope that we can move forward in Congress and get some more federal funding.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Marika, I have a comment and a question. One of the questions that hasn't been addressed yet is the MCE discount or a rebate for, I believe it's discount for a charger. Many of our residents don't have a place to put a charger, but some people do have a garage. So can you comment about that, or does Owen talk about that?
Yeah, I can comment about that, Carol. Thanks.
Okay.
So our EV charging program isn't targeted towards residents. Our program is for municipals like cities, small businesses, or multifamily properties, or HOAs would qualify as well. So to be eligible in the program, it would have to be on a meter that was an MCE customer, but the account holder for the meter couldn't be an individual resident to be eligible for the program. They'd have to be actual Rossmoor themselves, like the HOA. And we've already had EV chargers built at Rossmoor. They've gone through our program and they've received rebates from us through our program, but the chargers themselves can't be, it's not for residents, basically.
Okay, thank you. I just want to share information for people that haven't had an EV or talked to someone that has an EV. When I got my Chevy Bolt, I wanted to get a lot of range because I was thinking of it as an equivalent to a gas car, but I don't drive much mileage. The average Rossmoorian doesn't drive very far. So people that are getting these cars with 300 miles and 350 miles and more is great if you are commuting to your grandkids in Northern California, and the next day you get home and you're going to your grandkids in Southern California. I mean, you have to be driving a lot every day to make that kind of a car worthwhile. And what people think of is charging at once, the way you go to you run down your gasoline car almost to empty, you go to a gas station, then you fill it up, and then you go again. But it's actually the opposite. What you do is you top it up every day. So you would never do that with a gas car. If you've just driven 20 miles doing errands and coming home, you wouldn't stop at a gas station and top it up. But that's exactly what you do with an electric car. So it never gets anywhere near down to the bottom unless you take a really long trip. So I would encourage people when they're figuring out how much they want to spend for a car to look at the last 3 years of where you've driven and whether you're going to, what the longest distance you drove and whether you're likely to drive to that place again. And if not, then the occasional long trip that you take once every 5 years, you can rent a car. So I would not have gotten a car with a 300-mile mileage, knowing what I know now. I'm perfectly happy with my car, so I'm not going to trade it in. But it made no sense to do that now that I know I'm connecting it every day when I come home from wherever I've been and just top it up.
So what miles do you suggest?
I suggest maybe it would depend entirely on how much you drive. So think of the farthest place you've driven in the last year. If that's a place you're likely to want to drive again, at least a few times, then you want that much miles.
Yeah,
So I've driven twice to Sacramento in the last few years, and to there and back, you can charge while you're there. You don't have to have all your own charge. So I still had way too much miles.
I drive only 3,000 miles a year.
Okay, then when you're looking at cars, Anika can take over here and answer.
Right, yeah, even getting a used car, it depends on, if you're mostly just driving around town, even getting a used EV that has, 100 miles or 150 miles, or some of those models that I showed on the first slide that have.
But they don't have anything in Tesla. They don't have any used car which are on sale right now. So they don't have anything. I asked them if there are anything, and they said,
yeah, right now it is right now a very tricky time because of inventory shortages and the microchip shortage and the supply chain issues that we're having have really impacted all cars.
Yeah.
So so we're hoping in 6 months or so.
Yeah, 6 months. Yes, that's long as I have to wait.
Yeah, so it's a great time to come to an event like this and learn about EVs. And if you can get into test driving a car or two just to check it out, but make sure you call the dealership before you go out there to make sure they have the car available.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Can you let Carl Brown ask his question? He's been waiting for quite a while. You have to unmute, Carl.
One of the things is Rossmoor is a little bit different because we have an awful lot of people who park in separate structures. Now, I drive about an average of about 30 miles a day, and they're looking over my thing. That would cost the mutual, because they don't get the advantage of EV rates, about $100 a month. Now, who's going to pay for that electricity? Also, we have 70-year-old infrastructure. I would wondering whether MCE or somebody has some support to help us get through this issue, because I looked at it for our mutual loan. We would have to spend about $300,000 in infrastructure just to get the additional power to be able to charge, to be able to add infrastructure so that we could add circuits so that people could do charging at home. And I really think that one way or another, Carol mentions topping up. Is there any consulting service available to help us get through this issue and figure out what we can do?
Carl, Mariella here from MCE. I'm going to share my contact information with you. I'd love to have this conversation offline. I don't have information to share at this moment, but we can definitely talk about it.
Okay, you can get to me. You have my email address?
I was going to give you mine. I'm going to put it in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question to Sustainable Rossmoor. I already own a car, an EV, and what I'm interested in really is fast charging stations inside Rossmoor.
Yes.
Is GRF looking at installing some fast charging stations?
They're researching it. They are definitely researching it. I checked a couple weeks ago and asked about it. I don't know how far they are and what the barriers are and whether there would be one at each site or, you know, so the details haven't been worked out, but they are ahead of us. They are looking into it. The topping up to switch back to the level 2, the kind we do have at our different clubhouses and so forth. If you go to a film that lasts 90 minutes, you can top up most of what the average person uses in a day. So I granted not everybody wants to go to a film every single day, but you know, there are not, if we don't have COVID and our facilities are open and you're going to events and to meetings, it's pretty easy to use the GRF level 2 chargers we have now to top up quite a bit of the time. So just putting in a plug for level 2 still has some use.
Are all of the ones at the event center and the fitness center and a gateway level 2?
Yes.
And
So they'll charge about 20 to 25 miles per hour, depending on what vehicle you have.
yeah. So I have a Tesla Model 3 and I just got it in December, and it is not realistic to, you know, where I live in Rossmoor, we can't plug it in at our parking spots, and there are no garages in my entry, so nobody in here could put in their own, you know, plug it into their own garage. And
so your mutual is going to want to check with Owen to see if they would be able to explore having a few of their guest parking spots allotted, like Mutual 48 already did, to have discounted charging stations installed, not in the carports, but outside, so that it could be rotated among different people using it. But I still think back to the days, if you can, before COVID, think back 2 years ago, if you were going to some of the activities or meetings or other events down at Gateway or Event Center, you could be gradually topping up. If you drove your Tesla to the shopping center, the Broadway shopping center, used the level 3 charger there, pulled it, you know, charged it up almost the rest of the way, you could be driving it around a little bit every day for a long time before you'd have to worry about charging it again.
But Carol, you're assuming that those chargers are open.
I'm sorry.
You're assuming that those chargers are going to be available when somebody wants to use them. And if things were up and running full blast at Rossmoor, those slots would not necessarily be available during the daytime when you were doing your activities there. They didn't open up until after 5 or 6.
You can charge any time of day on Gateway or Event Center or Fitness Center, not just at night. You can charge any time of day, and they're never all full, never ever. No. If you ever see that happen, take a photo and send it to Tim O'Keefe, because he would be delighted.
Carol, is it worth installing your own at your home?
I did, yes, because I have a garage.
So do I. So is it worth it?
Why don't we talk? Oh, yes. Why don't we talk offline? Because I think we have experts here, and you can talk to me anytime. You should go back to the experts.
Yeah, and Kay, I would just like to point out, if you're only driving 3,000 miles a year, probably just plugging into the standard outlet will be plenty for you.
Oh, see, I see.
So you don't,
by the way, I checked your email address, and then in chat, I don't find one.
Oh, I'll put it in again.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Do I understand that there are no restrictions if one has an attached garage in Rossmoor to plugging in what would essentially be a level 1 charger?
No, you're not safe in assuming that. And what you need to do is is look at your mutual's EV charging policy, and that should spell it out. Unfortunately, almost most of the mutuals have written their own EV charging policy, and so they're not standard across all the mutuals.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I would like to just clarify that a little bit. You do have 110 volt service in your garage,
Yes,
and it is connected to your meter.
yes,
And so long as you're not using it for some other purpose, like running a refrigerator, you do have enough current there to do that.
yeah, I understand I could do that. I'm just wondering if there are mutual restrictions against me using it. It's my electricity in my attached garage.
Yes,
There may well be. So
There-
that's why you got to read your own
Yeah.
mutuals policies.
Josh is in mutual 48.
Yeah.
And Josh, you could talk to Dave Orecki.
Yeah, I know who I would talk to. I just didn't know if I.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And might
You're
add,
right. He's the man.
and I might add one comment. There is a device called a smart splitter, which is a safety device. If you are using a 240 volt outlet for, for a dryer, if you have that situation, you could install this smart splitter. And
Adrian, you should not be advertising that, because that runs right into against the rules of most
Okay.
mutuals.
Sorry, that is not a Rossmoor comment. Take that off the record.
Well,
I don't see Carl's email in the chat. Can Carl put his email address in the chat, please?
No, Mariella put her email in the chat,
Oh,
and
she can
she
install
and
it.
Carl are going to communicate offline.
Okay.
Okay. So are there any other comments or questions that we have for our experts? I think we can take one more question and then we should move on.
Dale's got his hand up, Carol.
I have
Okay, then it's Dale.
Yeah, hi. I have a comment. Prior to pandemic, most of the time, non-EV vehicles were parked in the EV spots at Gateway. I would come there because parking is a challenge. Most of the time, the cars that were taking up those spaces were not EV cars.
I agree with you. I stand corrected. At Gateway, that's true. I don't think it ever happened at Event Center. I never saw those full, even
Right,
during
right.
daytime hours. Yeah.
Depends on when the parking lot was full, those slots got taken for
Yep.
performances and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
it really depends on when. If you're going there and nothing's going on, there's plenty. I mean, like right now, there's plenty of space. But
I didn't see many violators at the fitness center either, but Gateway was a big violation spot.
what do you mean by violation?
People using EV parking places without being an EV car.
During the daytime, that was allowed.
Yeah, we are allowed to do that.
Up until 6 o'clock, I think.
No, it's later than that, I think.
Is it?
I
Okay.
think it's, I mean, it
However
really
late
is
the
hard
building was open.
at the fitness center. I mean, a lot of times I had to go
They're
back.
all uniform.
Yeah.
They were all uniform originally.
Well, I think what this points out for everybody is that we need to revisit some of those things, encourage the GRF to revisit the rules around the way those spots are used as more and more people start to gain EVs. That was done a long time ago when there were very few here. Obviously, now we need to sort of revisit that, and we should encourage them to do that.
Well, I might want to say that I really believe that ultimately we need a park at home system. And I think this is really on the mutuals to come up with a solution for this. I do not really, I think that GRF, well, it can provide some charging, it's not the answer. It really is essentially a supplemental thing. Eventually, as people get more and more electric cars, and there is a sizable number of electric cars, then it might make sense at that point to convert those to EV only. But I really don't see in a short-term basis that it really makes sense. I really think this needs a mutually based solution.
Or both.
His wife doesn't agree with me at all.
I just want to thank Annika, Mariella, and Owen for their presentation and being able to field all our questions in a rather intense, abbreviated time. So thank you in advance. Just so you know, everybody's going to be getting a email that's on this call with a link so that you'll be able to get the copy of the slides as well as the recording.
Thank you.
And just a heads up, the recording should be up probably next week. So it will need a few days to kind of process it and edit it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. For the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Annika.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
We'll be in touch.
Helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sustainable Rossmoor.